Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Making Lemonade series. This is through the Department of Public Instruction and specifically the Arts Education team. My name is Sayward Grindley. I am the Dance and Visual Arts Consultant, and I will introduce my team member in just a second. But we are really excited to have you all here with us today. This is really exciting how many people are just really wanting to know how to use Canvas specifically for their arts education courses. So we're excited to bring with you our special guests, and we will get started in a second once I introduce them. So I'm going to turn it over for a moment and let my team member, Brandon, introduce himself and say hi.
Hi, I am your music and theater arts consultant, and I have been at the department just since the beginning of October. We do have somebody who is, or just making sure that everybody is able to be muted. We have had some embarrassing moments for participants in past webinars, so you do want to make sure that you're muted, and we will show you where all those buttons are here in just a moment. We know that we both have taught online, and if that's not something that you have done before, in any capacity, it can be daunting, especially for arts teachers who maybe have been left out of that conversation or have been told that, this wasn't going to apply to them in the past. So we're here now to help you with whatever you need. So if you find that you need something else, please let us know.
Thanks, Brandon. So again, like Brandon was saying, we have both taught online at some portion in our careers. So we have some tricks up our sleeve and some things that we have done ourselves. And besides this webinar, if we can ever help you with anything, please feel free to email us and reach out to us. We've had a lot of careers in the past few weeks, just brainstorming and wanting to talk about some ideas for their classes, and we're happy to do that at any point. We do not have our section chief here with us today, but I do want to mention our fearless leader is Dr. Lori Major Carlin, and she oversees us in the arts education as well as the social studies team, and she's done a really great job of leading us and really getting us excited about all the possibilities. And she would say she's going to be the tough teacher and really come down on those of you who are not muted today. That would be her thing, that she would pipe in, because we all really want to hear the information that's being given. So she would pipe in with that. And her motto is also to stay solutions focused. So we really want to think of ways that we can find positive solutions to whatever obstacles we are faced. Next, I'm going to introduce our main guest speaker for today, Ms. Pam Bachelor, and she's going to introduce herself and say hi. Oh, okay. There we go. Now we're hearing you. Oh, maybe not. Pam? Is she muted still, Brandon, maybe?
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go. Yep, there's.
Okay. Sorry about that. Somehow I was muted. So my name is Pam Bachelor, and I am part of the digital learning team here at NCDPI. I serve as the product manager for Canvas across the state. So that means that I get to work with all of your Canvas admin at each one of your public school units that use Canvas, which I love. I also lead the products for SchoolNet, which is our instructional improvement system, and Go Open NC, which is our online open education resources repository with all kinds of free instructional resources. So if you haven't clicked on the Go Open link in your NC Ed Cloud, I encourage you to do so. And I'm excited to be with you today and also help spotlight our couple of amazing educators that we have that are going to talk to you about the courses they've created in Canvas.
Great. And then we have two teachers that are here with us to speak with you. I'm going to let Heather start and introduce herself quickly.
Yeah, I'm Heather. I teach at High School in Kings Mountain. I part of NCTAE, the Theater Arts Educator Association, and I also have with my kids performed at NCTC and the Blooming, so theater arts in North Carolina.
Great, thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to Janelle to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Janelle West. I teach art and digital photography at Watauga High School in Boone, North Carolina. And I've been all over the place, online, face-to-face, hybrid, North Carolina, Virginia. So I know a little bit of everything and not a whole lot about anything. Does that make sense? Am I allowed to say that? Okay, that's it. That's me.
Great, awesome. So just a few things. Remember, this is DPI facilitated. Your video, again, is encouraged so we can see your faces, but it is not necessary or required. Totally up to you, but please make sure that you stay muted. I cannot stress that enough. We're going to try to stay on topic, so especially in the chat, making sure that you're staying on topic, but reaching out if you're having specific issues. Use the chat for any other questions that you may have, and Brandon and I will be tackling that. So we'll be the ones responding to you over there. Making sure that we're staying solutions focused and we're really trying to stay positive in what we're talking about, what we're asking. And again, stay muted if you can. If you're having trouble hearing, follow the closed captioning. And remember that you will be able to access this webinar later through video if you're having technical difficulties. All right, next slide. So really quickly on your screen, if you look on this bottom little bar here at the bottom of your screen, you can see where you can self-mute, where your chat button is, and you can do all kinds of other things. So see if you can play around and get the best format for you personally and what you like to look at. You can also go up to the top corner if you want to see more people or change the layout in any way, but you're going to want to make sure that you can see Pam's screen that she shared with us to see all of this information. Thanks. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon to start here.
All right, so we're going to do a quick whip around of what the arts look like in North Carolina, talk briefly about some best practices for remote learning, and then we're going to hand it over and specifically talk about Canvas.
We're muted, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, no camera in the mute. Good.
All right, so we will close out and talk about CEUs and the rest of the webinars in this series and what you might be able to gain from those other webinars coming up. There are 10 in total, so that's an entire CEU if you're looking for that. So the Arts Ed in North Carolina. Oh, sorry, webinar goals today. We're going to make sure that you guys leave feeling more confident about teaching the Arts Ed standards in North Carolina online or in a hybrid format, considering that's what we were just told by the governor. We're going to make sure that we know what the instructional framework for remote learning is and what that looks like being borne out in the Canvas learning management system. Sharing ideas. We've got a repository that that's Fridays. We're going to share ideas that Janelle and Heather are sharing with you, and hopefully hear some great ideas from you in the chat box as well, and share some resources with you. All right, so Arts Ed in North Carolina. By the way, if you are not following along with this slide deck on your own, there is a bit.ly at the bottom here. And lots of these images and links are clickable so that you can move straight out to them. We have 4 art subjects in our state. We don't have media arts in our state, and all of those will link you to our standards. And we have 386 different public school units in this state between all of the different counties and charter schools. We have 2,500 public schools that we try to serve. And we have 1.55 million public school students that we are serving. So thank you for your service to that 1.5 million. some cause for celebration. On July 3rd, the arts ed graduation requirement was passed by Governor Cooper. And this is the first time that we have a state mandated graduation requirement in the arts. If you have experienced an arts requirement for graduation in the past, that has always been a local law, and it is not, or it was not mandated by the legislature. So this is new, it's cause for celebration, and it is a great step towards valuing arts education more equally with non-arts courses as well. In our state, we have the Comprehensive Arts Education Model. Senate Bill 66 created a task force, an arts education task force, that looked at arts education across our entire state and found that the most effective models used a three-tiered approach, or a three-pronged approach of arts education, arts integration, and arts exposure to educate the child holistically in the arts. So arts education is the explicit instruction in a discipline of the arts. Arts integration is when a non-arts content integrates the arts into their classroom, and when arts use non-arts content in their own classroom as well to support what they are doing and make it more relevant. Arts exposure is that authentic, professional sort of experience where children are experiencing the arts beyond the classroom. So back in early April, go ahead and go to the next one, Pam. The Friday Institute released some instructional frameworks for remote learning, and they pointed out that by contrast to the intentional online format of distance learning, remote learning refers to a class that intends to meet face-to-face in a traditional format, but may be transitioned online due to unforeseen circumstances. Even if we're being told that we are in plan B, this is still an unforeseen circumstance. So we are remote learning for sure, but many of us are using online tools to teach remotely. This framework, if you are unfamiliar with it, please take some time to look at it. It is amazing. It is well thought out, well researched, and really speaks to meeting the needs of our students in a way that is systematic and doesn't just make our instruction haphazard. Even better, on the next slide, you can share the instructional framework for instructional leaders of how they can meet your needs as remote teachers and trying to meet the needs of remote learners. This was a joint project between NC State's Friday Institute and DPI. So if you are part of the Friday Institute's remote learning MOOC, that this is also the framework that they're using. Again, if you are unfamiliar with this, please take some time to click on these links and become familiar with them because they are fantastic. When you are thinking about your students this year, don't just try to take your classroom and recreate it online. You know, you got to take inventory of what were you able to do last year with your students, if you're continuing, or what have your students had in the past, and what maybe haven't they had? What works in this format over other sort of formats? Go ahead and continue forward. So instead of just trying to replace what you were going to do simply by using technology, think about what you can do differently now. I called this a pedagogical renaissance. Even if this is your 27th year teaching, it's going to be like it might be your first all over again. And I was saying that if 35, nice, Laura, even if it is sort of daunting, so was our first year teaching, but we still went into it with such excitement because of all the things that we knew that we could do. So we're here in this series to give you the tools to be excited about what you could do in this online format, because there is a lot that is exciting and that is good to get excited about. Go ahead, next slide. Make sure you survey your students, of course. what sort of supplies do they have. This goes, for CD players or anything else. It's been hilarious in my family. We can't find anything to play a CD-ROM on in my household right now because none of the computers that had CD drives work anymore. And so what do you do? So I think we finally found a DVD player that will do it. But do kids have ketchup, mustard, and mayo? Do they have tea in their classroom, or sorry, in their kitchen? Like, what sort of amazing liquids can they use to paint with? How can you think outside the box? By the way, that's another title later on in the series. So go ahead, next one. And remember that this is a temporary solution. We're not going to be self-contained forever. So you only lost part of a classroom year last year, and you are only going to lose part of a year this year. And we will be able to meet those other needs of our students when we're back in the classroom. All right. That's it from me. And we are going to pass it over to the experts for the reason that you actually came today.
All right. Well, thank you, Brandon. I made the link to that class if it's going to teach me how to paint with mustard and ketchup and mayo. That sounds amazing.
I loved that teacher. She was absolutely fabulous. I wonder if she's on the call today.
Okay, awesome. If you are, make sure you give a little shout out in the chat because we want to celebrate you. So Canvas for Arts Educators, I'm super excited to be here and to share with you all some strategies, hopefully some helpful resources. But I do want to just encourage you before I get started and move on to the next slide, just to take a moment and breathe. As Brandon just pointed out, this is emergency in a way. It's unforeseen. And while we have a little bit of a gift of a few weeks now that we know that we're going to be in Plan B and remote instruction, think about how you can do things differently and also kind of give yourself some grace when it comes to learning something new, right? It's something we ask our students to do all the time. And so it's kind of that great reminder of what it is to learn something new and try a different approach. And sometimes it may work and sometimes it may not. And I know Janelle and Heather will speak about that and some of the successes and trials that they've faced when they're using Canvas. So the first thing I want to give you is a guide to empowerment. And these are the Canvas guides for instructors. So Canvas is their parent company is called Instructure. And so they have come together and created this intensive list of guides. When you click on this link that I'm sure Sayward and Brandon will be putting in the chat, you will see lots of guides. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it and open it up. And do you see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen.
Awesome. Fabulous. Thank you for letting me know. So you'll see that this guide is a table of contents and pretty much anything you want to know about Canvas or how to do, you can click on one of these guides. And let's just start off with the beginning. How do I add an announcement in a course? And so I click on this link and it's going to bring me to a step-by-step guide with screenshots for how I add an announcement to my course. I use the guides all the time. Canvas updates every 3 weeks without any downtime, which I think is amazing that they have rolling updates that they apply every 3 weeks. So I'm saying this because the guides change frequently as things are updated. So just don't think
online and going back in person. What is your reaction to the governor here this afternoon?
All right. So just don't feel like you have to memorize everything, and also just be prepared that sometimes things change in Canvas. And just because you know how to create an announcement right now doesn't mean that there won't be an update to it in a month or so, and you will always have these guides to come back to. So I love the guides. I visit the guides every day. I've been working with Canvas since it started in North Carolina. back in 2015. So, you know, I've been in Canvas for 5 years and I still use the guides all the time. So please make sure you bookmark this link to the guides because you will see them frequently. You can also get to your guides when you're in your Canvas course or in your Canvas account. If you click on the little help icon, which is the question mark, the first link will be the Canvas guides. So, and FYI, they have guides for parents and students as well. So definitely if your public school unit is new to Canvas, make sure you share the Canvas guides, especially the guides for the parents and the guides for students, because it helps walk them through everything they can do on their end as well. All right. So our next thing that I want to talk about and spend just a few minutes is accessibility. So when we're thinking about this hybrid learning that we're going to be going into in a few weeks, we know that students will have a variety of devices. They may be using their phones to access our content. And so there's a few things that when you're thinking about designing a course that you want to be aware of. So these are just some of the things that I've learned in the last 5 years as a Canvas admin. All right, and the first one is to use a bigger font than you think is possible and are needed. And that is, I'm not saying use like a 25-point font for everything, but I'm saying use at least a 12 or 14. I usually keep everything at 14 when I'm using my content editor, and that is because when a student accesses on a mobile device, maybe an iPad, it's going to scroll, it's going to automatically adjust to their screen size. And so if you think about if you have font in your, you know, some paragraphs of font that you want students to read in your Canvas course, and maybe you have it set to size 10 or 11 or 12, when that student tries to read it on their phone, it's going to get very small. So I always suggest using size font 14 or higher for your font. And this is also recommended by our accessibility controls as well. We also want to make sure we break up our long text into smaller paragraphs. I know you know, English teachers are always talking to us about making sure our paragraphs are nice and, you know, substantive. But when you're looking at a course for students, you really want it to be concise. So thinking about using bullet points and bulleted lists, smaller paragraphs and chunks. Use the headers and subheadings. So I do have a screenshot here of the text editor, and where it says paragraph on the screenshot, that's a drop-down menu, and you'll see the different headers and subheadings that you can choose from. So paragraph text versus header text. So you want to make sure you use those headers and subheadings because not only will it keep the formatting on a mobile device, right? So on this screenshot here on the slide deck, it says characteristics of the 6 kingdoms. That is a title. So even if a student is viewing that on a mobile device, when it resizes it for the student's device, it's going to keep that heading formatting there. It's also very important for students that have screen readers. It will read off as a title versus just regular text. So just something to keep in mind. Another thing is, you know, as arts ed educators, you might be a little disappointed when you first get into Canvas about the colors and the fonts that are available. In fact, if you look at my screenshot, you'll notice there's no fonts. There's not a list. Everything is a default font. And that is because Instructure has the highest accessibility rating possible. Accessibility is extremely important to Instructure. So the most, they have everything in the most readable font. You can use HTML code to change your font if you need to. I'm just putting that out there. If you absolutely need a different font, you can do that with HTML code, but I encourage you to embrace the simplicity within Canvas when it comes to fonts and colors. because we do need to have contrast, and contrast is not just for students that have like a screen reader or line masking on their device, but it's also just for everybody, because as we transition into this hybrid role where our screen time is all going up, contrast actually does play a very big role in our eye strain. So I've linked in here a color checker if you wish to check your colors and fonts that you use, maybe in your slide deck or within your course for suitable contrast. And then the last step I want to talk about is the actual accessibility checker within Canvas. So when you go and you edit a page in Canvas, you'll notice this little symbol in a circle. It's in this red box on my screenshot. It looks like a little stick figure in a circle. That is actually an accessibility checker. And if you click on it, it will scan through the content that's in your rich text editor and highlight any accessibility issues. So for example, maybe you have an image of a painting and you don't have an alt tag on it. This accessibility checker will find that and say, hey, this image is missing an alt tag to let people know what it is. And it will actually ask you, what should the alt tag say? And you type it in, this is, Rembrandt's, da, 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 da. And it will actually apply that alt tag for you. So the accessibility checker is great because it might detect 3 or 4 issues, but it'll walk you through how to change those and update your content right there on the screen. So you don't have to know all the accessibility rules. And then I've linked on this slide the help guide, the Canvas guide on the accessibility checker if you want to read more about it.
Pam, we did have one question. If you can set the font size to 14 as a default, is there a way to set it as a default? Do you know?
Not that I know of. And I think, it's, I think it defaults to 12. And, 12 is okay if you know that your students have devices at home that, maybe are school issued, if you're one-to-one. But if there's a chance that they're going to be looking at it on their phone, I really encourage you to think about 14. But I don't think there's a way to set a default.
Yeah, just get in the habit of every time you create something, switch it to 14. Okay, thank you.
Sure. So just a couple more notes about accessibility. If you include videos in your course, of course, with the arts, I think we have a lot more visual audio content sometimes than others. You're supposed to use that. It makes it interesting, right? Be thinking about either allowing closed captions or having a transcript available for students. It helps with the kind of the multimodal learning, right? So even if the student doesn't have a disability, having that option to where they can, listen to it or read it, it helps a lot of students with comprehension as well as accessibility. So some free tools for audio captions. If you upload a video to YouTube, YouTube auto generates captions. So if you're kind of flipping your lessons, since we're doing this hybrid format and maybe recording yourself first, I would encourage you to put your videos of yourself teaching into YouTube and let it generate those closed captions. So that way your students have that option. It's also super easy to put a YouTube video in your Canvas course. So you'd be kind of helping yourself with adding the content into Canvas later on as well. And then I also did want to show a video tool called ViewPure. And so ViewPure allows you to have some additional options for YouTube videos. It allows you to kind of minimize the ads that are on the screen and also clip a video to specific start or end times. So I'm going to take just a second to demonstrate what ViewPure is. So when we go to the site, we just see it says enter a YouTube URL. So I'm going to open up YouTube. And in my background, I taught both social studies and chorus, so I kind of I have a a relationship there with the arts. So I'm going to look for a video, and maybe it's U.S. history in 10 minutes here. All right, so I need to look at this video, and I just need to get the URL at the top. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back over to here and put that URL in, and then I click on the link verify. And it does ask you to sign in with a free account. So, you can do that with your kind of Google account or your own password. So put in mine. There. And I can see my videos. And there's my videos. Here's the video I just added that link. And I can click on where it says embed. And this code here is what I would put in my Canvas course. So what this is going to do is it's going to put this video in the iframe in my Canvas course. So I don't get the ads, and then I don't get, I've flipped it to just a particular part to the video that I want to show. And so, a lot of times you find a great video and maybe it's 20 minutes long, and you're like, wow, I really just need those 5 minutes when it's talking, about music theory, and giving, an introduction here to notation. So, be thinking about those kinds of things in this course, how you can kind of streamline it to just the relevant parts that students really need to understand. So I hope you find that as a helpful option. And YouTube also has a built-in feature where you can start it at a certain point. So that works if the video is 30 minutes long and you only want students to see the last 10 minutes. That works, but I like ViewPure because it allows me to set the start and end time. So if there's just a chunk in the middle that I want students to be able to see.
Pam, for some reason, we lost you just a little bit in there. It just got a little garbled, but I know that the closed captioning caught you. So I'm not sure. It might just have to be a little closer or something. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Bandwidth is always a variable thing. So one other thing that I did kind of want to talk about just briefly is the Creative Commons licensing. So as educators, it's our responsibility to ensure all material we put in the course is licensed appropriately. And I feel like that's particularly important with arts ed. So Canvas has built-in Creative Commons licensing, and it makes it easy to give proper credit and attribution, right? So really, I challenge you as you're thinking about your Canvas course for the year to be thinking about that conspicuous attribution, right? So be the attribution hero for your students. And what exactly do I mean by that? Well, I mean, when you find a great resource from YouTube or from maybe you find a lesson plan on Go Open NC that you're going to use, I want you to put a little note in there on your Canvas course about where you got it from, right? That helps others to know. And it also thinking about the Creative Commons license you put on your course. The great thing about a Creative Commons license is that it tells me exactly what I can do with the materials I see, right? Without having to contact the author for permission, whoever the copyright holder is, because we know that just because it's an author of a book, it's actually the publisher usually who retains the copyright to the volume or to the work. So, you know, same thing, record companies, you know, it's the artist, but then it's also usually the record company that holds the ultimate licensing rights. So just being mindful of what that content that you're putting into your course and how you can model that attribution, I think is so important, because it shows that respect for other artists and other educators about the resources that they share. All right, so next I'm going to share some fun things, some Canvas courses specifically for arts ed that you can actually use and reuse. I think one of the scariest things about a Canvas course is that when you open it up and for the first time, you might see your students because it's synced to your PowerSchool. But basically the course is blank unless your public school unit has provided kind of a template for how your courses are to look. A lot of times it's a blank page, and that can be a little nerve-wracking when you're looking and you're like, wow, it's a blank page. Just like a blank canvas, it's yours to do, but sometimes a little overwhelming. So we're going to take a look for a second at some Canvas Commons links. So first I want to spotlight Chatham County, and I don't know if Lauren's on this call, but Lauren DeCiris from Chatham County has shared her visual arts courses in the Canvas Commons. So in Canvas, we have Commons, which is our way of being able to share not only full-length courses, but also modules, quizzes, pages, announcements, and you can share them across the state through the North Carolina Canvas Commons, or you can also share them across all Canvas users across the world, really. So be thinking about that when it comes time for your evaluations at the end of the year, because I'm pretty sure in our standards for teaching, it says that in order to be a distinguished teacher, you have to share resources and be that leader across the state and across the country. And sharing your resources in Canvas Commons or in Go Open NC could definitely be an artifact for that. So just be thinking ahead about what your steps are doing now, because you're an awesome educator and you want to prepare your students, but also be thinking about how those steps could become in handy at the end of the year when we talk about evaluations. So I do have 4 example links here for you to look at. So this way you're not actually just starting with a blank course, but you're looking at information and a sample course for different areas. So I tried to get one for each one of our program areas. So visual arts, there's a music theory, quiz library, intro to drama, and then dance 1. So keep in mind, only the first link here is North Carolina specific. The other 3 that are shared are not North Carolina teachers. So you may look at their courses and you may say, okay, we don't teach it this way or this order. But it's meant to be an example and something for you to use to not start from scratch with. Because I find that with me, I do much better with having something I can edit than starting from scratch. But if you like to start from scratch, that's great. But I just wanted to point that out that these resources are here. So I'm going to click on that visual arts one. And the key about these links is that you have to be logged into Canvas. If you're not logged into Canvas through the NC Ed Cloud, the link will come up kind of looking like this. So I'm logged into Canvas. So let me refresh my page.
Now, Pamela, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page, when something's in the library here, that means that they can just make their own copy of it, and then they can start there and reorganize and edit whatever they want, right?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go and I'm actually going to log out because I think my session might have expired, and that's why it's telling me.
And while Pam's doing that, I'll just say again that the Canvas how-to guides, the help menu, is really what's going to get you started. This webinar here is how to take those things and make them arts education.
Right. So I'm going to just click on that visual arts link again. Okay, well, all right. So Canvas Commons is on your C with an arrow. And if you don't have that icon in Canvas, you need to check with your local public school unit, your Canvas admin, because sometimes they have it restricted. But I'm just going to go ahead and type in visual arts. And this particular one was shared with North Carolina Canvas. And so to see that, I can go down here to North Carolina. And here's that course, Visual Arts 1. All right, so here's the first course that Lauren shared from Chatham County. And it actually kind of gives you a preview of the course. And you can see all the pages. It's a pretty complex course that Lauren has shared. And then all I have to do is click on this import button, and it's going to ask me what course I want to import it in. So I just click on the name of my course, and I say import, and then it'll start importing a copy of what Lauren has shared into my course. And it does take maybe 15 or 20 minutes, depending on how long the course is and how complex it is. So just a little FYI about that. Any questions?
Brandon, do you want to read the two, what was there, one or two questions?
Yeah, we had a question about whether or not you can basically import any of the Google Classroom lessons that you've already created, or is that more of a matter of going back into Google Classroom and copying and then pasting?
So what you can do is with Canvas, we do have an integration with Google Drive. So usually, with Google Classroom, everything that you've done is, from Drive. So you can go in and easily bring in any like slide decks or documents that you have, and you can use the copy feature. I know that's a popular one in Google Classroom for each teacher to get a copy. With our Google Classroom, Google Drive integration, with Canvas, you can use that same kind of feature to make a copy. But if you had a Google Classroom assignment that maybe had a bunch of links or things, then what you would be doing is looking at maybe creating a page or an assignment in Canvas and copying and pasting anything that's external that's not within Google. That makes sense.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just really quickly show you that in the Commons, I've searched. I do want to point out that you can look at this filter and you can view whatever you're looking for. So I challenge you to look in the Commons if you have it before you make anything in Canvas. So if you're looking for a music theory quiz, go in and see what other people have kind of started, and then you can import it in. If you're looking for, a video about dance and the different types of dance, they look in the video section or the pages section. Just don't feel like you have to start from scratch on everything. So with that, I do want to make sure we have enough time to let our educators share. So I'm going to start with letting Janelle speak to us about her classes and what she's learned with Canvas.
All right, so the first one that I did is a photography class, and I originally set up my photography class to teach it in person in the classroom from Canvas. And the reason I sort of set this up, the first year I moved here to Watauga County, I realized there's these things called snow days. And I had never heard of them before. And suddenly they were now a part of my planning. So the two things that I changed was, one, my planner, instead of writing in permanent ink, I wrote on Post-it notes and then moved the Post-it notes as we had snow days. And the second one was to really embrace Canvas. So once I embraced it, the physical way that I've put it up is almost like a website. The splash page or the front page has a button for each week. I do my units by week. Usually I introduce something new to them on Tuesdays, and we kind of talk about it and have different things that I go through with these web pages. And then it is due to me on Monday. So that gives them the weekend and everything. So if you click on the button for the week, it takes you to another page which has a button for each day. And then each day you can click on, and it literally has everything. That has an agenda at the top of what we're doing. And then I have my videos. I have anything from YouTube. Khan Academy, I think, is integrated with Canvas, and they have a lot of great videos through the visual arts that you got to search for them a little bit sometimes. A lot of the photography stuff was under art history and then other topics, but if you go through, they have a lot of great stuff. So that's how the photography class kind of went through that metamorphosis. I save it in a sandbox, and then I literally copy and paste it each year, and then can tweak it in any way that I need it. Now, the Art 1 Foundations classes were a little different. I was in the process of doing to them what I had already done with photography. And then in March, we had the great announcement that, I think it was on a Saturday, we decided we weren't going back on Monday. So I then had to throw together, so to speak, a foundations class. So my foundations class doesn't have as many buttons, and it's not as pretty because it's only the last few weeks. But again, they click on the link for that week, and I was able to put in a table format their warm-ups for the day, each day of the week, as well as anything that we were going through. Now, the introductions that I would have are a little bit longer, probably, than I need to chunk those a little bit better. But I would go in for Google Meet, because my district has Google Meet, and we would have a live class once a week, each week, and I would go through the entirety of what they were going to do that week, and then I would embed that Google Meet into Canvas. So it looks better when you actually go through it, and you can click on each link, and I think the students like it a lot better than the module setup, because the kids that I have in my classroom are those visual learners, and it gives them an opportunity to interact with it like a website. So that's my condensed version.
All right, thank you, Janelle. And I will say too that if you go back into the Canvas Commons, and if you search for like a page buttons or homepage layout, you will see several example homepages with buttons that are already kind of built out for you, that you could just simply customize with your text and what your modules are. So that could be a good starting point if you are interested in something like Janelle has built, but you want to kind of start with at least something there for you. So next we have Heather, and she's going to share what she's learned from Canvas as well, and some of her techniques.
So some of enjoy about Canvas, with like Google Classroom and then converted and a couple years back, and so my students are used to Canvas. I like that there's, like you were saying at the beginning, accessibility and options that we can use, especially when it comes to grading and different types of differentiated assignments. One thing I really liked is the grouping of assignments and being able to pull them if you've created it in your PowerSchool or your gradebook, you can pull those into your actual Canvas, the weights, and then it syncs it up directly. So as you're grading in Canvas, you can sync it up, and it'll populate your gradebook. So that's one thing that helps you to get the information out to the students faster. they can see what they're doing and what they need help on, or what you know, just a better form of communication. So I've broken mine into performance, participation, quizzes, tests, and journals, just because like I like things to be very specific, but giving kids, depending on the types of assignments, or weighted higher, it covers more material. Journals are something that I do on a daily basis. I have a Google slide that populates as the week progresses, and then underneath that, so it's in its own module, its own page. It also has its Google Doc that I've sent out to all of them, that they all have their individual copies that it populates, and as they submit daily, it you know, because it's Google Doc, it saves it automatically, but they also get to keep their progress. So I see it, they see it. It makes it easier for accountability. Let me think. But yeah, the other way of being able to comment either through announcements or through the comment section for each of the grade points. Anything that I've graded, whether it be a monologue or group assignment or theater history assignment, the use of comments through you know, the speed grader, you can easily talk to them, give feedback. If they turn, you know, if they have to resubmit or they submitted late, you can give them that feedback, and the ability to have that inbox and talk to them throughout the process makes it a lot more convenient, makes it more accessible for everybody. So I've had students throughout March and April, as we're going through this you know, new turn of school, everybody's going through different things of like, I don't have internet, or my internet's shoddy, how can I turn this in? So just being able to work with students and know where they're at, it's helpful. And everybody's going to have, you know, just a lot of stress you know, March was stressful, but I think now that we've gone through it, there's going to be a little bit more, you know, grace and experience on both sides. And the other thing that they can see, and you can see, is the calendar. By having a visual aid of a calendar that lets you know exactly when things are set up, if you set them up, the assignments, to have dates and times in which they are due, you can see, they give you, depending on the course, depending on what, you know, what's happening, they can get alerts to that. It'll go to their page. They'll have little you know, reminders of when things are due, when things are past due. And then you have alerts as well as when they turn things in, when, you know, what things need to be graded, or what they've turned in.
Thank you, Heather. And one thing I wanted to point out too, is that just in Heather's screenshot here from the speed grader, how quickly it is to be able to give a voice recording, or even create like a little video feedback. So just depending on, you know, what your style is for providing feedback to students, if you don't feel like typing comments in, Canvas makes it easy to click that little speaker icon and either give a quick audio feedback, which is so nice, because I think when we're, you know, in remote instruction or not seeing our students every day, making that personal connection of hearing your voice, seeing you on video, just kind of adds that extra touch of building that relationship with the student.
I also love that they can video, you know, videos through assignments, and you can create that dialogue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, you know, particularly important for arts ed, as if you have a student that's, you know, working on a performance goal, and, you know, maybe they need to demonstrate a technique to you, you know, having those built-in video and audio features, I think is so important.
For theater arts teachers, real quick, UCIT has been updating their site for like they're ready to do a technical theater exam course. So if you need additional resources, you can go to UCIT's page. I can drop that in the comments. But other than that, thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you, Heather. And I did see when I was looking in Canvas Commons too, there are several courses on technical theater that are in there, stage and lighting and those kinds of things. So I encourage you to look through Commons, to see what you can adapt for your needs as well. So that's awesome. More resources coming. We can never have enough. Thank you so much, Heather and Janelle. Are there any questions for the panel that we need to take?
Not at this time, I don't believe.
Okay. All
And
right.
all of the additional tips and advice that we're seeing posted in the chat, we will go through and put that at the end of this slide deck. There's a page for notes and resources that have been supplied by you all. So don't worry about that. We will make sure that all of those different things that you suggested get in there as well.
Yep.
Yes, you will get CEUs for this. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. And I just posted where you can go to the webinar archive page where all of these will be posted. You will also get an email out later after the webinar with the recording as well. We're getting those questions also. Brandon, do you want to talk about these or would you
I
like
was
me?
going to say, I know that we are coming up to the hour mark, so I'll do this very quickly. Our Arts Ed Google page is where you will find all of the registration links for the 10 1-hour sessions here. So, we always get 0.1 CEUs for a 1-hour session. So this is a whole CEU. And not all of the registration links have yet been created because Sayward and I have been scrambling like mad. I think we put all of these together in just a week, and putting together any sort of virtual conference is a brand new learning curve for us as well. We have Fine Arts Remote Learning Strategies this Friday. I dropped that link into the chat earlier, but you can find that registration either on our Facebook page, in the listserv email that I sent out, or on the front page, the landing page of our Google site. The Integrating Art to Build SEL Competencies is actually hosted by the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh. Michelle Harrell and her team have asked Sayward and I to be panelists on that, but they are creating this being mindful that we will be in Plan B and some schools in Plan C. So it will still be very relevant. Pear Deck, hopefully that registration will be up no later than the end of tomorrow. So for those of you who might not be teaching in Canvas, but we're interested in the online learning stuff, the Fine Arts Remote Learning Strategies this Friday has examples from Canvas, but can be used all across multiple different platforms. It addresses the issues of equity and access really, really strongly. The teacher or the fine arts consultant for that is the Virginia Fine Arts Consultant, but she taught online for a while, and she taught students who were in the juvie system, or who were expelled, or who were home because of pregnancy or new birth. So these are not our students, who are used to working on computers and had it easy. She knows how to teach our most at-risk students and how to teach them well. So please join us for that. And then next slide. We have all of the information about your PD certificate and survey. Please do be honest with the survey. We are looking to improve always in every way that we can. We know that Cisco is a brand new platform for lots of people, WebEx, excuse me. This is our state mandated platform. So this is the platform that we are able to present to you on. So I do apologize about that if that is something that was difficult. But now that you've got the hang of it, the next 9 will all be on that as well. All right, and then the last slide here just shares with you our contact information. And again, that bit.ly link down at the bottom, if you follow that, you have access to this entire slide deck. And there are 2 slides after this thank you slide with notes just from the chat. when you receive the follow-up email that has the recording, one really nice feature actually about WebEx is that it automatically puts up the chat in real time as it plays the recording, so you can see those links in real time throughout the recording. So we are all done. So I'm sure that was like a brain explosion. Again, this is sort of how do you use these tools that were not meant for arts ed in an arts ed sort of way. The deck is really where you're gonna find most value. Go in, click those links, take some time to look at things. And then when you're ready, just dive in, get messy. It's a brand new medium. It's a brand new genre. Like that's what we have to do, right? In jazz, we always woodshedded through a piece, and you're gonna woodshed your way through building Canvas courses. If you're unfamiliar with that term, it means you're gonna chop away and hack at it. And so, you know, you can create something that's amazing. I wasn't familiar with Canvas until I came to DPI, but now that I am, or I've had an opportunity, I feel like I already know so much more and can do better next time. So what might work well is just to create one module at a time, or like, you know, create your first module for your, you know, your 6th graders, and then create your first module for your 7th graders, and then for your 8th graders, and then go back through and create your second modules for everybody. Again, we have all taught online, and we will be happy to work through things with you if you have questions. Definitely reach out to your counties or your school levels Canvas administrator as well, because if you're mandated to use Canvas, there's probably Canvas training going on for teachers. So you should definitely participate in that as well. All right. If anybody has any questions, you are welcome to type them into the chat, but if not, please feel free to go ahead and log off. And Linda, I love the fact that you already printed it out and wrote your name on it. That's fantastic. And thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you on Friday. Enjoy your lemonade. It's a lot better than lemons.
Thank you all so much for coming. Really quickly, I saw somebody ask where you can find those other 9 courses. If you go to our website or you follow us on Facebook, we have a whole sheet that you can share out that has all 10 of our courses in this series. So those are all before school starts. You can crank them out. So thank you again so much. We really appreciate having all of you here, and good luck with everything. Please let us know if we can help you with anything, all right? Best of luck. We'll stay on a little bit longer in case anybody does have any questions they want to stick around and ask.
So I did add a question in the comment section. I don't know if you saw it because it was scrolling fast.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just unmuted myself. I hope that is okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So when you have the peer deck section, I'm just really learning about that. Are you going to include Loom on that? Because